2, 3, funky.
Hello and welcome to the Narc Alert, the channel where we look at different YouTubers and celebrities and point out some traits that they seem to show that fall within the spectrum of narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD. Please do not send any snark to our subjects. First of all, let me say very clearly once again, we are having a little messy fun. This is not a diagnosis. We're simply going to point out some traits that this YouTuber shows us that seem similar to traits that fall within NPD. So key points to remember: messy fun and not a diagnosis. So in this video, we're going to look at the YouTube channel Hiding in My Room. Daniel Lord grew up in England. As a youngster, he claimed to have two close friends growing up and spent most of his free time playing World of Warcraft. He grew more into his online world and grew apart from his friends. In his teenage years, Daniel grew an obsession with anime and Japanese culture. Because of this, he learned Japanese and made his first trip to Japan by himself in 2010 and lived in a guest house. On October 23, 2014, Daniel created his YouTube channel, Hiding in My Room. Originally, he created the channel to document his life in Japan and chat. His video style mostly consists of vlogs and commentary, either storytime or a complaining rant. Another trick he does that seems to frustrate his viewers is that Daniel commonly ends his videos with a segment called Cooking with Daniel, where he simply records himself preparing some food to stretch the video for monetization. He's made 4 subsequent trips to Japan using a tourist visa until he married a woman named Chichiro, who he lived with for nearly 2 years. They have since divorced. He went to South Korea. He started an OnlyFans. He went to Germany. Then he went to the Netherlands, back to England with his parents, and now he is single and living in Manchester. Daniel has been the center of criticism throughout his YouTube career online. The best video is from Elvis the Alien, called The Asian Onision. Say that 5 times fast. But definitely go check out that video. Now, this guy is no Onision. I don't think he's dangerous, but he is, a challenge. A quick look at some of his thumbnails can give you a clue. I think you get the picture. Now, let me introduce you to Daniel Lord.
So I get a lot of criticism from people on my YouTube channel in the comment section. People always say things like, I'm a monster, I'm a horrible person, I'm a terrible person, and no one really sticks up for me, no one ever defends me, so I guess I have to do it myself. And in today's video, I'm going to give you some reasons why I'm not such a bad person, and actually I'm a pretty good person. So let's get started. Okay, so number 1, I don't drive, and a lot of people say things like, oh, what a loser, he doesn't know how to drive an automobile, oh, he's 30 years old and he doesn't know how to drive a car.
He is very pressed about this not driving issue. I think it means more to him than to anyone else. A perceived failing, maybe? He spins it as if it was his choice to save the environment, and it could be, but you will see he uses the environment as an easy excuse quite often.
Yeah, well, we live in a world where climate change and air pollution is a big problem. And you're saying that we should encourage young people, we should encourage more people to learn how to drive and to get their own automobiles and contribute to the air pollution. Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, let's get all 7 billion people on the planet their own cars and let them all contribute more pollution to the atmosphere. Are you crazy? We should be encouraging young people not to drive and to use public transport more and to use their bicycles so we don't have more traffic, so we don't have more pollution, so we don't use more fossil fuels. But no, you get people in the comment section, including my mum, saying that I'm not a real man because I don't know how to drive, or I'm not an adult because I refuse to take on the responsibility of driving.
Now, I hate to admit I do agree. I am a lifelong commuter cyclist. It suits my lifestyle, and I'm happy that it does a small part to help out. I do not, however, think it makes me better than anyone else. His reasons just do not ring true here. He seems very defensive. It's just driving.
No, I'm not going to learn how to drive. I never will. And you should be thanking me for not adding to the pollution, to the traffic, and I'll probably be a terrible driver, let's face it, and I might accidentally run someone over. And I don't want that kind of power. I don't want to have the power to be able to end someone's life and then possibly get arrested for being bad at driving or have a guilty conscience for the rest of my life.
So for him, driving is a means to murder, and he doesn't want that power. And if he did kill someone with a car, he would get arrested for bad driving, and he would feel bad. I find it a bit concerning that he sees a car as a weapon first. And note, also not a drop of sympathy for the person that he hits and kills or their family. In this insane power scenario, he has no culpability at all. Let's give him this one. We agree. We don't want you in a car.
No thank you to driving. Number 2, I don't smoke and I don't drink, and I'm pretty healthy. I have a healthy lifestyle, and this means I'm not dependent on the NHS or hospitals. Do you know how many people abuse their bodies, and do you know how many millions and millions of pounds it costs the NHS to keep these people alive and to care for them? Do you know how many people have terrible diets and they don't exercise and they end up having heart disease all the time? Do you know how much money that costs the public and the health services? One of the most common diseases that people have currently in hospitals is heart disease because they don't look after themselves. They don't eat their fruit and veg, they don't go out for exercise, and they end up costing the NHS, and they end up using all these medicines and public resources that wouldn't need to be used if they were just, a little bit more careful.
He is so much better than the rest of humanity. He takes care of himself. Everyone else needs health care because they are inferior and don't know how to live properly.
With their bodies, and they went out. So you can thank me for not leeching off of the public's medication and the NHS resources. So the other criticism I get is I live with my mum, or I used to live with my parents when I had 2 of them. A lot of people say that I'm a man-child, pathetic, because I live with my mum, and I don't really see why that's a problem. Why do you want me to move out? I mean, why should I move out and get my own place when I live in a huge house with my mum? Yeah, my mum lives here as well. I don't really see why that's a problem. Plenty of people live with their parents because their parents get old and they need help around. They need to be helped out so they don't fall down the staircase.
Many people do live with aging parents to help them out. This is not the case with Daniel. He did not move home right after his father passed to help his mom. He can't drive her anywhere. He is here because he needs a home with free rent, and he leaves shortly after this to his own space in Manchester.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with adults living with their parents. And to say that I should move out of this place and get my own place, I think that would be selfish of me, because if I moved out, it would be like this entire place is wasted if only one person lived here.
So it would be selfish of him to waste this space. He doesn't even consider that his mother may want her space back. And if he is there to help her, isn't that the main reason leaving would be selfish? No one else's needs are ever considered but his.
If only my mum lived here, it would be such a waste of space. At least we have 2 people living here, and, it's not as much of a waste. If I moved out and got my own place, I would be taking away that place from someone who's less fortunate than me, who might need the place. And the UK already has a housing shortage. It's actually a big topic on the news, housing shortages and not enough houses. So what people were saying is that I should move out, that everyone should move out and have their own place to stay. Yeah, the UK, with a population of 60 million people, everyone should have their own home.
His arguments to explain his behavior are always on a global level. He is that important. He won't drive to protect the planet. He won't pay his own rent on his own place because he is fighting the housing crisis. He's like a superhero, really.
Because, yeah, we have plenty of space to just put down 60 million homes. Yeah, the government isn't in any kind of financial crisis or debt or problem. We have so much money in this country, we can easily build 60 million homes for every single person who lives here. What a silly idea. I mean, if you have a big place to live in, you might as well live in that big place.
Well, especially if you can exploit someone and pay no rent, and tell people it is because you are so helpful and kind.
Instead of moving out of that big place and getting a crappy, tiny little place and taking it away from someone who might need it. It's kind of like everyone owning a car instead of sharing a car. If everyone had their own car, then there would be even more traffic and pollution. Number 4, I have never physically harmed anyone, apart from this kid in school I punched in the face because he was saying racist things to me.
Not physically harming someone does not make you better than others. Superiority alert. And also, hitting someone in the face negates everything that you just said.
But apart from that, I've never punched anyone, and I've never harmed anyone. I've never murdered anyone. You get these people like Winston Churchill and George Bush who start wars and cause the loss of life of thousands of people. And people think of them as heroes, as saviours, as master tacticians who defeated evil when basically they've just murderized thousands of people and no one really seems to care about that.
You may suspect someone as having an issue with a superiority complex when they compare themselves to the likes of Winston Churchill and feel that they are a better, more contributing human being.
But all of a sudden, I'm the monster, even though I've never murdered anyone. How does that even work? I don't even know how people can come to that conclusion. It makes no sense.
I think he is truly confused by this. His twisted reality is so warped, he cannot see how powerful, historical figures are held in higher esteem than him.
Number 5, I'm going to have to use heavy code words for this one because we're going to have to be a little bit sneaky. Okay, so number 5, I don't use rubber duckies when I eat my cereal. And people might think, well, that's not very responsible. You might get a disease. Yeah, well, do you know how much plastic is in the ocean? Do you know how dangerous all this plastic consumption is for the environment and nature? By 2020, there's going to be so much plastic in the oceans that 30% of marine life is going to go extinct.
I am unsure where this nonsense fact came from, but I'm guessing he is an expert.
And people are blaming me because I'm not contributing to plastic consumption by using rubber duckies.
Once again, it is all only about him. He cares not about spreading disease or unwanted pregnancy. He tells us he is quite prolific in the bedroom, so he could be spreading all kinds of things.
I don't understand how people can come to that conclusion either. Yeah, I'm putting myself at risk. I'm sacrificing my own safety. I could get a disease. So you should be thanking me for putting my own health and safety on the line to reduce consumption of plastic in the oceans.
Notice he cares about catching a disease, not spreading one. He also told us he is healthy. He never uses the NHS. I'd say, for now, given his reckless activities.
I mean, do you even know what happens to rubber duckies after they've been discarded? They don't get recycled, they don't get put into a furnace, they just get tossed into a big container that's full of plastic that gets sent to China to be disposed. And you know what they do in China? They just toss it all into the ocean.
It's a good thing Daniel understands garbage and recycling so well. He alone is saving our oceans. Do they really separate used condoms and put them in a plastic bin, ship them to China, and toss them in the ocean?
And then it washes up in some kind of coral reef, and then 30% of the marine life goes extinct because of all this plastic. And I think I'm doing a good thing by not contributing to plastic consumption. And also, I'm not trying to boast about this or brag, but I have a pretty active man drive, and I have cereal hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times a year. Do you know how many rubber duckies that would be if I used a rubber ducky every single time? There would be a mountain of rubber duckies that would have to be disposed into the ocean.
Such an excessive need for admiration. Daniel is going to save us all.
And if every guy who had an active man drive like me used that much plastic, it would just... 30% of the marine life in the coral reefs would go extinct next year. So, yeah, I think I'm...
So this video was made in 2019, and he references 30% of the sea life disappearing by 2020, more than once. How did we avoid this? Did everyone stop using rubber duckies?
I'm doing my part for nature, and I just think it's crazy that so many people think I'm this terrible, disgusting, horrible monster. When I'm not really that bad, and in some ways I'm actually pretty good. And if you think I'm a monster, you should just wait until you get out into the real world, where there are millions and millions of criminals, murderers, serial offenders. So yeah, if you think I'm bad, then you're in for a real nasty surprise.
Once again, showing us such an inflated sense of self and arrogance that he thinks the only way people can see him as bad is because they have not experienced the real world. I guess he thinks all his viewers are also hiding in their rooms.
That's all I have. See you next time.
So there you go, Daniel Lord. Do you think he should keep hiding in his room? He's still really active on YouTube if you want to see more or follow his adventures. Thanks again for watching. I appreciate you guys. Please click like and don't forget to subscribe. As usual, leave some comments. I love to hear your thoughts. Go, be kind. Hasta luego.